It's a new product video on the new Lionel 210-4 Texas class steam locomotive. We have here in front of us the 6-11304 Chesapeake and Ohio, cab number 3025. I'd like to first cover all of the items that come in the box. When you open the package, you will receive the engine memory module instruction manual. Tells you how to load your module into your legacy base, which we'll cover here shortly. The instruction manual, the orange memory module specific to the road name and road number of the locomotive, a pipette for adding smoke fluid to the stack, the wrench driver for removing the side rod screws so that you can easily change the traction tires, 2 traction tires, an O-gauge dummy coupler, and a shoulder screw for mounting the dummy coupler to the front of the locomotive. The locomotive is equipped with 4 switches accessible from the top of the engine underneath this cover. I want to take a moment and show you the switches on the top of the locomotive. The first switch here on the top is the program run switch. Program in Legacy or TMCC mode will allow you to assign the ID number to the locomotive, and run will obviously make it run. When you're in the conventional mode, program is used as your direction control lockout switch, and run is the direction control on switch, so it will cycle through the directional states. The next switch is the Odyssey on-off switch. In the off position, the Odyssey speed control is disabled. In the on position, it's enabled and will maintain a constant speed. The next switch is the main smoke, which is the stack smoke, on and off. You have the option to turn the main stack off and leave the auxiliary smoke on, or leave the main stack on and the auxiliary smoke off. And then you have aux smoke, which is the smoke unit that drives the steam chest cylinder steam effect. The locomotive actually uses one smoke bowl chamber under the primary stack. That's where all the fluid is added, and it's got 2 elements in there. The bowl is actually split in half, even though it's a solid unit or single unit. You've got the element for the main stack smoke and the element for the steam chest cylinder steam effect smoke, both using the fluid out of the single reservoir. So the only place you put smoke in this locomotive is right down the stack. The switch is held on by magnets, very easy to remove and reinstall. Moving cab roof vent, has lighted number boards, headlight, lighted classification lamps, lighted class lamps on the back of the tender, a backup light, an electrocoupler, an IR tether on the drawbar. This locomotive features main stack smoke as well as steam chest cylinder steam effects, which we'll show you shortly. First, let's go into lubricating your locomotive. We recommend using the 6-62927 lubrication and maintenance kit. In that kit there's an oiler. Unfortunately we don't have that available today, so just want to cover the lubrication points on the locomotive before we get to running it. I'm just going to use a oiler with a needle point on it. What we want to do is we want to get oil, just a small dab of light oil on the axles where they go through the frame. So make sure we hit all 5 axles. The locomotive has grease in the gearbox from the factory. However, after you use it for a while, it's a good idea to pull these screws out and just apply some grease inside the gearboxes. Preventive maintenance is always the best. You can also put a small dab of oil on the axle for the collector rollers. That'll prevent these from squeaking and causing an annoying sound while you're operating the locomotive. It's also recommended that you put some light oil on the side rod screws. Again, this will prevent this from squeaking. Also on the eccentric crank. Once the oil is applied, you can go ahead and rotate the gear assembly or the driver assembly by hand. This locomotive features a non-locking gearbox. It will roll. And work that oil into the bearings. It's also recommended you put a small dab of oil out here on the pilot wheels where the axle inserts into the bearings, and also on the trailing truck where the axle is inserted into the bearing. Okay, the locomotive is now lubricated. Let's go ahead and do the tender. Again, same practice, a little light oil where the axles enter the bearings on the tender trucks. Be a total of 12 spots here. And again on the collector axle as well. And that's it for the tender. Okay, before we program our locomotive, we want to first tell our legacy remote everything that the remote needs to know about our legacy engine. So because the cab number is 3025, using the last 2 digits of the cab number as the ID number convention, simply want to press engine 2 5. As you can see, the remote comes up in cab 1 mode. Your remote may come up as something different. Nevertheless, we want to go ahead and assign all the information to this locomotive. To do this, we're going to use the memory module that comes with the engine. Orange memory module comes in the box. Simply press the info key in the upper right hand corner. Go under the button that says load. Press load. It says insert engine memory module. So we insert it. It displays all the information we need to know. Do we want to load? Yes. Press the yes key. Everything's loaded. Remove the module. Now we press the info button once more to exit. You can see the cab number and the road name of the locomotive appears. Tells us it's a Chesapeake in Ohio 2104. Whenever we address engine 25, the cab number displays briefly and then disappears. Why we want to load this module is because we've done a few things here of importance. I just want to go into the engine menu and show you. So we've obviously assigned the name. So to get to the next tab, we're going to press scroll. You can see that the type is set as a steam engine. Pressing scroll again will move to the next tab. Control is set up as Lionel Legacy. And scroll once more to get to the sounds. The sounds are set up as Legacy Rail Sounds. So to exit this menu, we're simply going to press Info. And we're back to the engine display screen. Why that's important to load the module is because we've loaded icons on our remote. We've got volume up, crew talk, steam let off, volume down, emergency stop when it's running or shut down when it's sitting still, steam blowdown, which activates our steam chest cylinder steam effects, tower comm, smoke off, smoke on, again 3 levels, low, medium, and high, tender marker lights on, engine reset, Rule 17 lighting on, tender marker lights off, and finally Rule 17 lighting off. We press the speed bar. We now have our railroad speed steps preset, access to smoke off, smoke on, the bar graph that shows us our steam chuff intensity, which is directly related to the effects button up or the effects button down. As we press the up key, our bar graph increases, and so does the intensity of the laboring chuff of the locomotive. As we press effects down, our bar graph lowers, and therefore the sound of the chuff on the locomotive decreases. And finally, the center button here is marked as 1 is roll speed. That'll bring the locomotive to the very first speed step when Odyssey is in the on position, and it will maintain that speed until you make a speed correction. So now we're going to go ahead and program our locomotive. Now that we've programmed our legacy remote, again using the convention of the last 2 digits of the cab number, so this particular engine we're going to assign as engine 25. Before we do that, we want to make sure that we add smoke fluid to the locomotive. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the smoke fluid pipette that comes in the box, and we're simply going to take some of the Lionel liquid smoke fluid. This is available under part number 6-62909. We want to put the smoke fluid roughly at the first mark on the pipette. Place this down in your stack and squeeze the smoke fluid in, a couple puffs of air to make sure we clean the chamber out. And go ahead and set this aside. Just for security's sake and to make sure everything operates right the first time, we're going to go ahead and blow down the stack to make sure that we clear any liquid blockage. Okay, so let's go ahead and program the actual locomotive now that we have the module loaded into our legacy remote. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the hatch, place the switch in the program position as we showed you earlier, turn on our track power. Using the legacy remote, we're going to press engine, 2, 5, and set. Right now the locomotive is programmed as engine 25. We can ensure that that number stays by sliding the switch back to the run position. If you're using a cab 1 remote for TMCC1 or Trainmaster 1, we can go ahead and slide the switch back to program. And on the remote we want to remove the bottom cover to access the set button. We can press engine, 2, 5, and set. The whistle confirms that it took the command. Now we simply slide the switch back to run, and the engine will only respond to engine 25 from this point forward. We want to make sure that our Odyssey is in the on position, our main stack is in the on position, and our auxiliary smoke is in the on position. Once that's confirmed, we can place the cover back on the top of the locomotive. It's also important to note that your master volume control is underneath the forward water hatch on the tender. There's a large round wheel where you can increase and decrease the master volume manually. We're going to set it about here so it doesn't distort the audio on the video we're doing. Okay, now I want to point out some of the features of the locomotive. To begin, we're going to go ahead and turn the smoke unit on. To do this, we're going to press aux1 and the smoke icon 3 times to bring the smoke to high. As you can see, the locomotive does smoke when it's sitting at idle, so the stack smoke will begin smoking. When we first crack the throttle, the steam cylinder steam effect will begin. And effectively what that is it's replicating clearing the water out of the steam chest. So when we start, you'll hear a hissing sound, which is prototypical. Here we go. As the locomotive is running, the stack smoke is puffing in sync with the chuffing sound. To get the steam cylinder effect to play, we can simply press aux1 and what would be the number 6 position, or steam blowdown. As long as we hold that key down, the smoke will continue to emanate from the steam chest. Now, each time that you run the locomotive, the effect will play differently. Sometimes it will start out with the hissing sound as it begins moving. Sometimes it will start with the chuff. It's a totally random feature programmed into the board. I'm going to go ahead and stop the locomotive. Place it in reverse by pressing the direction button. We press direction, the rear headlight comes on. There we go, we're in reverse. Front headlight stays on all the time, number boards stay illuminated, and class lamps stay on all the time. The locomotive is equipped with Rule 17 lighting, which can be turned on and off from the touchpad on the remote. Effectively what that is when the locomotive is sitting stationary, the front headlight or the rear headlight is in a dim position, so it doesn't blind any other locomotive engineers that are passing by. When the locomotive begins moving, that light gets brighter and stays brighter as long as it's running. You can turn that option on and off using the icons on the touchpad of the Legacy remote. So let's go ahead and get the locomotive running again. As it's running, you've got the stack smoke going. The three levels of the quillable whistle are as follows. The bell is as follows. We can go ahead and fire the rear coupler by pressing the R coupler button. Get the sound effect out of the sound system. The tower comm is like this.
Dispatcher here, you're lined up and clear inbound, over. Copy that. We have the green. Out.
Crew talk.
Dispatcher, how's the track look? Am I clear? Over. Yes, all clear ahead, over. Copy that, dispatcher. Out.
You'll notice the locomotive has 4 chuffs per revolution per the prototype. We'll go ahead and get the engine running a little faster. Again, the steam cylinder blowdown effect, we can make that activate at any time by simply pressing aux 1 and the steam blowdown icon on the touchpad. Pressing the brake button will activate the squealing brake sounds. This locomotive is actually equipped with something called a sequence mode. For those of you that are unfamiliar with it, it's really kind of a fun little action accessory inside the locomotive. To activate the sequence mode, you simply press and hold the aux 1 key or the straight arrow key for 3 seconds. You'll get 2 bells and a whistle to advise you that you're in sequence mode. Go ahead and do that now. Once you hear that 2 bells and a whistle, you're in the sequence mode. Now all you have to do is turn the throttle and the locomotive will take care of everything else. Going to speed step 1 will spool everything up.
Dispatcher, over. We're moving, over. Acknowledged, out.
So the tower comm plays automatically, the bell turns on. The bell will stay on until you exceed speed step 23. As you run the locomotive, you'll get a random grade crossing sequence. Whistle will blow. There's a whole series of features that actually play through the sound system as you run the engine. Anytime you make a speed adjustment, oftentimes you'll get a whistle blast to notify it's changing speed. As you slow down and approach the station, the bell will turn on automatically. The tower comm and crew talk will play. The longer you run the engine, the cooler the sound effects become. You'll actually start to hear some tower comm and crew talk that you wouldn't otherwise hear when you after running the train for say 30 or 40 minutes continuously. When you slow down and stop at a station, play the tower comm and crew talk, and it'll tell you you've had a good run or a good head of steam. Some features that you wouldn't get otherwise. So I've just reached speed step 23. The bell was turned on automatically. We're going to go ahead and slow it down. It's important to note that when you're in sequence mode, speed step 1 does not generate a speed step. It's actually tells the locomotive that you're getting ready to move, and does the tower comm and crew talk sequence. And then speed step 2 is actually the first rolling speed step. To get out of sequence mode, simply press aux 1 and R for reset on the touchpad. Whistle tells you that it's been turned off. If you want to add coal to your locomotive, simply press aux 1 and hold down reset for an extended period of time. You can hear the coal being loaded into the tender. When you let off of the reset key, you'll hear a short announcement.
My coal's full. Over.
Tells you the coal is full. And if we press aux 1 and 6, or the steam blowdown effect, we can actually add water to the tender. That was wrong. Okay, we're going to cut that out and start this over again. Okay, we can add the coal to the tender by simply pressing aux 1 and 0 or the R for reset on the touchpad. You hear the coal being loaded into the tender. When you release the R key, you'll hear a short announcement.
My coal's full. Over.
Acknowledged. Out.
Tells you the coal is full. If we press aux 1 and 3, the 3 position, or the steam release wheel on the touchpad, you can actually add water to the tender. When we release that, we'll get a short announcement.
My water's full. Over.
Roger that. Out.
It is important to note that the minimum diameter curve for this locomotive is 072. It will not run on a tighter diameter curve. It needs 072 or larger diameter. And that concludes this product video. Thank you.